but Lego, he scored his first goal yesterday. Did you not see the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Washington Capitals? Yes, I know. However, as is the case early on with any topic at the beginning of an NHL regular season, there is no time like the present to overreact on things and to maybe overcorrect things at the same time. Today we are talking about one of the best goal scorers in the NHL's history books, a guy who has cemented himself as the undisputed best goal scorer of the modern era. We're heading over to Washington and talking about Alex Ovechkin, the Great Eight. Because when it comes to the way he has started off his 23-24, sure, you could say that yesterday, Washington versus Toronto, this was the step back that we needed, but just in general, things have not looked great. And there's a lot to be said about the quote-unquote decline of Alexander Ovechkin. What I wanted to do in this video was go over the story so far, go over the context heading into this season, what we had seen in the first few games of Ovechkin's 23-24, what we saw yesterday, and some opinions shared by TSN analysts. In particular, we're talking about Craig Button. So, Ovechkin is Alexander freaking Ovechkin. He needs no introduction. He is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. And he's a guy who, heading into this season, was, 71 goals behind Wayne Gretzky in the NHL's total goal-scoring race? Ovechkin has been a monster with multiple 50-goal seasons, multiple 40-goal seasons. This guy has been a consistent goal threat ever since stepping into the NHL in 05-06, and he's had such a long career that now, at 38 years old, everybody's kind of wondering, okay, if he's able to get to 40, if he's able to get to 41, and he continues producing at a reasonable rate, even if he gets, let's say, 30-35 goals every year, he probably has a shot at beating Gretzky, right? But this season, things started off poorly. Because in the first 3 games of Alex Ovechkin's 23-24, not only did he score 0 goals and only 1 assist, but he actually had 2 straight games where he did not register a single shot. And this was alarming when we first heard about it, because this was the first time in Ovechkin's entire career where the guy has not shot the puck on goal for 2 games in a row. Literally the first time since the guy made his NHL debut 20 years ago has he never had 0 shots on goal in 2 games in a row, and it happens here in 23-24. Now, we all know the story as to what happens next, but we did have some opinions going out there as to why this ended up occurring. Take a look at what Craig Button ended up saying about Ovechkin after the Capitals game against Montreal, that in which was 2 games ago for the Capitals and Ovi. This was the overtime game, wherein Cole Caulfield had himself the record of being the fastest Canadian to get 5 overtime goals in his career, something like that. But after that game against Montreal on Saturday, you had Craig Button say this on the program on TSN. There were a couple of positive signs in this game against Montreal. But overall this year, from what I've seen from Ovechkin, he just, to me, hasn't played the same level of physical or mental engagement in the game. He doesn't look like the player who is driving play, a player who wants to puck. When you watch him at his best, he's skating, he's driving plays, using his body to deliver body checks. He's in that spot, ready with his stick. I haven't seen that from him this year. And if this is the reason why everything started off so poorly for Alex Ovechkin, why his decline seemed pretty inevitable after the first 4 games of the year, if it's straight up just because the guy is unmotivated, then that is one of the daggers that you can't really put a finger on, you know? Like, unless you're Alex Ovechkin himself, it's tough to go up to a guy and be like, okay, this is where you're going wrong. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. You can say, oh, it's because he's not pouncing on the puck like before. He is not driving into the middle like before. He is not physically imposing himself like he has before. If it's all mental stuff and you could see it on the ice, hey, the guy is just not as engaged as he has been in the past. You know how Ovechkin has always had that killer instinct, that mentality, that balls-to-the-wall mentality that has made him such a lethal threat over the past 2 decades. If that all of a sudden is just gone just like that, then it's difficult to really figure out what to do there. Because everybody knows that Ovechkin is capable of doing that stuff, right? He knows it. He knows he hasn't scored a goal in 4 games, so what gives? In fact, the Montreal game, wherein this quote was mentioned afterwards, was the first step in the right direction for Ovechkin in this season, because he had 5 shots on goal in that Habs loss. And the next game against Toronto, which was yesterday, Ovechkin went out there and put a staple performance up on the board. 14 shots on goal, 1 goal. The 1 goal he did score was a brilliant tap-in on the back door. He is left all by himself on the power play, and no Maple Leaf is able to catch up to Ovi when he gets the puck right in on Joseph Woll. I mean, the fact that he had 14 shots on goal in the game was incredible, considering the Maple Leafs had 17 shots themselves. Like, Ovechkin had 3 fewer shots than the Maple Leafs in total. That's crazy. Add in the penalty shot wherein Ovechkin was not able to squeak by, and you have yourselves a package of a guy that hopefully is on the path to being more motivated and exploding offensively, like we know he is capable of doing. 1 game is all it takes, right? And of course, I don't want to dismiss the idea that the guy's 38 years old right now. Who's to say that there are going to be no more zero-shot dual performances throughout 23-24? It can happen. It's possible. The Washington Capitals are not a good team this year, or at least they haven't had good results. I mean, they've only won 1 game in 5 so far. It feels weird, but I feel like Ovechkin has never really been a part of a quote-unquote rebuild. The Caps have always been in it, in the conversation at the very least, during his 20 years with the team, so this is uncharted territory. We haven't really been here before. So maybe that is part of the reason as to why Ovi's beginning of the season was as unmotivated physically, mentally, intrinsically as we are used to seeing. And hey, if there's anybody that's going to go out there and rebound properly, bounce back in such a way that makes us being concerned about him seem like a fluke, it's Alex Ovechkin. Remember when he had that 30-goal season a few years ago, only to come back and score 2 more 50-goal seasons after that? Yeah, Ovechkin does stuff like that. He's able to bounce back after all the tides are turned against him and all hope seems to be lost. Multiple years ago, we were already saying, hey, this could be the downfall year. Look at that, Ovechkin had 33 goals in 82 games played, and then he won the Cup next year. Go figure. Maybe this year could be some sort of a similar type of story, but it is just kind of crazy how the season begun in the way that it had. How the crazy sight of being held shotless in 2 games in a row for the first time ever occurred. But if Ovechkin is coming back to form, then maybe this video was for naught. Hopefully it was for naught, right? With this goal yesterday, Ovechkin sits at goal number 823. He now needs, 70 flat to get up to Gretzky. Assuming Ovi scores like 35 this year and then 35 next year, if he makes it all the way to 40 years old, there is a chance that he goes out there and does the impossible, getting out of the second place spot in NHL goal lore and projecting himself up to number 1. But of course, we are a few years removed from that. If he gets 50 goals this year after having a pretty bad start to the season, then hey, that makes his chances even better as long as he's able to stick around for the next few years. I mean, he's on contract till the end of 25-26, right? That's within the next 2 seasons worth of play, so if he's able to get it then hopefully everything works itself out. But at the end of the day, the decline was there. It seemed to have gone away for a little bit, but it's a 1-game sample size. We'll see how this carries over into the next few weeks worth of Capitals play. If you're a Caps fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below how Ovechkin had declined and bounced back. What are your thoughts on the way that he's played this season, and how many goals do you think he scores at the end of 23-24? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.